Okay, we are now recording. For anybody who's catching up on the recording, I forgot to hit record, so you missed the introduction, but it was just the overview of the session. So I want to just start with a little bit of it's a quick story that kind of brings this whole idea around whether we go for it or whether we play it safe. It brings it to life a little bit. So the people who follow my story will know that in my 20s, Tony Robbins and his 7-day program changed everything for me. And then I went through life and, enjoyed career success. And then at some point, about 5 years ago, I think it was, I don't know what it was, and I don't remember consciously having a thought process around this, but something was niggling again. And I don't know what it was. I was enjoying my role, vice president at Amex GBT, and everything was as it should be, or as it had been for many years, shall we say. And then a friend of mine said, Tony Robbins is in London, let's go to his seminar. So I went to his seminar, Unleash the Power Within, a 3-day seminar, and it was fantastic, like the most motivational thing ever. And can you do what you'd expect? He does some teaching, he has you jumping around, he has you walking on calls, which did hurt. I don't think my mindset was in the right place. And he also asks you questions like I've been asking you, like what is it you really want? What are you avoiding doing? What are you fearful of? And we have a whole workbook for the weekend that we filled in and went through the process. And really all I come up with to my friend was, I said, look, I just love like nutrition, and I'd love to talk to people about their mind around weight and nutrition and positivity. That was as much as I kind of said to her. And she said, well, look, why don't you just set up a Facebook group with a small group and just share your ideas with some friends? So I did that. It's got, I think it had like 10 people in it. It's still there. It's still got 10 people in it. It was about 5 years ago. And just goes to show that really, I was kind of trying to scratch something I really wanted, but didn't dare do it. And I started to share, I think it's called Energy and Wellbeing or something. And it was just my closest family and friends, and just a really safe way of saying, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But I did nothing with it. And then fast forward to, a few years later, shall we say, when I was starting to feel burnout and stress and overwhelm and actually actively wanting something different. And I got on this course. I got on a 6-month program called Thinking into Results. And for a number of reasons, rather than dabbling and trying to safely dip my toe into what I thought I wanted, this program showed me how to set a big goal, the fact that I wouldn't know how to achieve it, the fact that I'd need to get scared, the fact that I'd need to become somebody different from who I was today to go for it. And then after I made the decision to leave my corporate career, this manual had been in the drawer. Seriously, it had been in the drawer since the seminar. That's what seminars kind of tend to do. You go, you feel motivated, you might take a bit of action, but then you forget. So I'd made the decision to leave my job and do this. And I picked this book up and I flicked through, and I had one of those spine tingly moments because I'd forgotten everything I'd written in the book. Like I wrote it on the day, closed the book and just moved to the next page and then closed the book. And then there's a section called, what do you really want? So bearing in mind, this was 2 years before I actually made the leap. And I'd put, I want to improve the quality of other people's lives. And I want to write, I want to write, and I want to help people. Now that was when I was a vice president at Amex, not really having a clue what that meant. So for me, when I went and read that, I went, my God, I said I wanted that 2 years ago and I forgot I said I wanted it. That's how powerful the paradigm is. Because I said I wanted it, put it in a book, took a tiny bit of action, a Facebook group with 10 people in. It still sits there. It makes me smile sitting there now, all empty and sad. And then fast forward, it just shows you that there's so much that when I ask you what's inside of you and, what's that thing you want to come out, you might not even know. I only knew a little bit, but I wasn't allowing it to. I just wasn't allowing it to see the light of day. So I think there's messages in that. I mean, what's in that for you? There's like fear. Why didn't I do it? Why didn't I act on it 2 years ago? When one of the biggest motivational gurus in the world is inspiring me for 3 days. Because 3 days doesn't change your paradigm. 3 days doesn't get me understanding where my beliefs are set versus what I want. And honestly, I never would have acted on it if I didn't get access to something that showed me the process. So I want to share that story because it kind of tees in nicely to what you might be looking to do in your own life. And what we're really talking about is a paradigm shift. That's what's happened for me. When I went to the Tony Robbins seminar, I was here, here in terms of emotions, here in terms of money, here in terms of what I spent my days doing. And I wanted to be here. But the gap was too big. I didn't understand how to get there, but I found a way. And really, when I say to you, I don't know if like through this boot camp, I've said like, what do you really want? What are your goals? What are you really hoping for? And hopefully by now, even it might just be a glimmer, but are you starting to ask yourself and believe when you ask yourself that you could achieve more? Or are you starting to say, I do believe if I can dream it, then I can have it? Are you starting to believe that? Or does it still just feel like an idea that I'm trying to impress on you? Because you can. Anything you can hold in your mind and create as a true desire, it's got to be something you truly want, you can absolutely have. But here's the thing, when I say you can have anything you want, you might say to me, well, I'll never be a billionaire. I'm asking you what you really want. Most people don't want to be billionaires. There's research that says that most people want 4 things. They want enough money to do the things they want to do. Most people don't want a yacht or 4 houses or a mansion. Most people, if you really ask them, what do you really want? I'll have enough money to do everything I want to do and for money not to be a concern. The second thing most people would say they want is to wake up every day and to do something they're enthusiastic to do. So they're excited or enthusiastic and looking forward to how they spend every day of their life. The third thing that most people would say they want when I ask them is to spend their days with positive, uplifting, supportive, good people, to be with good people. And the fourth one, which you kind of get if you get the first 3, is to feel happy, to feel calm, to feel at ease, to feel at peace. So when you really think about it and I say, what do you really want? Do those 3 things, does that resonate? Is there anything more that you would want? So then you've got to ask yourself then, is it too much to ask? Just enough money to do what I want to do, spend time with fab people, and get out of bed every day and go, I'm looking forward to doing what I'm going to do. That's not too much to ask for a life. But you know how many people achieve their goals? 3%. The studies, forget the name of the university, begins with a C. 3% of people achieve their goals. So why is that? It's just this locked in. We're so locked in. We get to a certain level. I mean, if you think about your current income, did you decide that that's what you want to earn and you need to earn to do the things you want to do? Really? Was that your decision, or did you work for somebody who would be prepared to pay you a certain amount? And the people you spend the time with, did you decide to spend time with them, or the people you've just always spent time with and you haven't changed it? Maybe they're not as uplifting or as supportive or as upbeat as you'd like them to be, but you just spend time with them. You continue to because you've always spent time with them. So you got to really ask yourself, what decisions did I make to get to the point of where I am? Because most of us don't make those decisions. We kind of just stumble through life, letting other circumstances and other people make decisions for us, really. And if you look at what you do for a living, hopefully you did decide to do what you do and you do get up every day and enjoy it. But if you don't, how did you get to that point? How did you get to that point where every day you wake up and you're not doing something you're enthused to do? So this is not too much to ask. In one of the early sessions, I said, I love this. I say it all the time. You've got a dash between the day you're born and the day you die. And it's not too much to ask to have those three things. It's really not. So let's talk now about why that's the case. I'm going to show you some slides just to demonstrate what's going on. And you'll have seen some of this before in a slightly different way, I guess. Just going to check the chat. Eating my lunch. Yep, my goals are clearer now. Good, Colin. So really, where you are right now is kind of operating with your own level of paradigm, right? We've talked about paradigms, we've talked about belief systems, and look at this graph that I've built for you to try and demonstrate something. So just imagine this down the side is like growth, your level of, when I say growth, like your personal growth, you know, how much are you shifting and changing as a human being, and success. Kind of success in inverted commas, because it's however you want to define success. I have a definition for success, but I won't digress. And then age along the bottom there. So we talked about this, your paradigm and your belief system and your conditioning being programmed when you were a child. So you have some of it in your DNA between the ages of 0 and 7, and really up until the age of 35. We are just being programmed with ideas based on what we've heard. As a child, it's kind of what you see and hear over and over again. So because our mind's wide open, our subjective, subconscious mind is wide open. Anything that hits it, it goes straight in, because we don't have that conscious ability to accept or reject or try and push something out. So it just goes in and it's accepted. It's accepted as an absolute truth to you. Just lock that in. It's accepted as a fact to you. There's a kind of, you don't question it, it goes in. Now I've read 2 studies. One says it's by the age of 35, another says it's by the age of 25, but it really doesn't matter. It just means the programming continues until you get to a certain point in adulthood where you're then locked into a certain way of you seeing the world, your universe, your own worldview, based on what you got as a child, your DNA, your environment, and then continued through your life experiences, the other people, the media, what you repeatedly internalized. So then beyond that point, your worldview is pretty much set. That's why if I'd not got access to what I got access to, my worldview was me moving through my life. I was in the corporate world, and that was what's expected of me. That was who I was. That was what I earned. That was the security I had, the benefit, all of that was me. And I'd have continued on that path until retirement if I hadn't had an interruption, like and this is what we call a paradigm shift. Beyond that, if you imagine, right, you've got a worldview which tells you how things are, right? What's true, what's not. It's your logic. And then, so from that point on, you notice everything that's in harmony with your worldview, unless a shift takes place. So if you imagine then, so as between the age of 0 and 7, let's say this is just a rough idea to show you that, you know, over time we kind of get more success and more growth. It's probably up and down a little bit. And that'll continue until we're I'd say until our programming is complete. And this is where the self-image is created. We talked about this idea of self, this mental picture of who you are, what you are worth, and what you are capable of. That's when this is created as well. And remember, we then think thoughts in harmony with who we are. We have experiences in harmony with the way we think things are. And we live out that world truth, right? So what happens at a certain age is then we get to a certain point and You can plot your own life probably, unless you do something dramatic, or I'll tell you another way we change a paradigm. You can plot your worldview as same old, pretty much forevermore. And that's plateau. That's where people get bored, they get sick, it's midlife crisis, it's those things show up. But if you have a paradigm shift, things can change. And there are only two ways to have a paradigm shift. One, a direct emotional impact. So your world is shaken by a negative impact. We've talked about this. You know, it's a divorce, it's an illness, it's COVID-19. You know, COVID-19 has given society, the world, a paradigm shift of sorts, because there's lots that are happening that we just thought would never happen. And we'll never look at this world quite the same way after such a dramatic event. Again, it's usually negative. And the other way we change the paradigm is the repetition of new ideas. All these ideas went in between the ages of 0 and 35, and then we continue to accept and unfiltered information as we continue forward. You can activate this yourself with the repetition of new ideas, creation of a new self-image for yourself. And when you do that, you can expect a leap. You can expect your results to go off in a different direction. So whatever area of your life you want to improve, are you earning enough money that you don't have to worry to do all the things you really want to do? Not settle, not compromise and say that'll do. Enough money to do everything you want to do. Take the trips you want to take, buy the car you want to buy, and the house you want to live in. You can quantum leap, you can have a paradigm shift, and you can take your success and growth beyond where you are today. And then when you go again and you go again, because you keep leveling up. Because what's happening here, if we stay on this line is your paradigm. That line is your current paradigm, your current level of thinking. And your current level of thinking will keep you on the current trajectory of your results unless you change your current level of thinking, your beliefs, your truth, your logic, and your self-image. So there are actually flat earthers, I believe. There's like a whole group of people who believe the earth is indeed flat. Who am I to challenge that when we're talking about paradigms, right? Belief systems. But at one point, it was completely logical, wasn't it? To believe the earth was flat was completely logical. Now, if paradigm controls our logic, just think about that. What is logic? Well, logic is the act of reasoning. So your reasoning factor to form thoughts, opinions, classifications, and judgments. So if your paradigm, this means everything that you think, all of your opinions, the way you classify things, the way you judge things, the way you judge other people, they are coming from your paradigm. They are not new thoughts. They're not new ideas. They are coming from ideas that are already there. So you will always see things the same way. So do me a favor. Close your eyes if you want, just so you can kind of get into the zone of what I'm going to ask you to do. Just think of your current income level. Just get a number in your mind. Okay, now double it and get a number. If you doubled your current income level, just start to imagine what might that open up for you in your life. Now take that number and times it by 4. And what might that do? What might that open up in your life? How might your life look differently to you? Now, the chances are your mind is, and I use money deliberately because we kind of have big paradigms about money, we really do. Now, when you went to double your income, probably felt this, when you went to 4 times your income, your mind probably went, yeah, but no chance, no way. That's not possible for me. Because your logic tells you it's not. But you see, it's logical for you to go, If I said to you, get, your current income plus 2 or 3%, maybe even plus 10%, you might go, yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah, that's logical. If I asked you to double it and quadruple it, your logic says that's not logical. And if we think something isn't logical, it's almost like just impossible to us. But it's only because we haven't got the awareness. Because if I ask you, are people earning whatever figure you got to? Are there other people earning that amount of money? Well, there are. So why not you? See, your worldview is different from that person's worldview. See what I'm saying about this logic? 1, 2, 3% incremental financial increase, 10% logical. Doubling it, times it by 4, completely illogical. But there's, over time, there's been universal paradigm shifts. The world being flat, the earth being flat is one of them. The finest minds, the finest scientists said it wasn't possible to fly an aeroplane. The Wright brothers who created the aeroplane were almost sectioned. They thought they were like a bit crazy. And there's examples through history of people who've defied what everybody else said was illogical. So all we're asking for in your life, we're not asking for you to build an airplane and fly it or defy any kind of logic that looks like it is really, really challenging to us right now. All we're asking for is you to believe in a logic that says, I can earn the amount of money I want to earn. I can do something that fills me with enthusiasm every single day, and I have a desire to get out of bed and be excited by it. I can spend my days with interesting, fulfilling, uplifting, supportive people and enjoy lots of relationships with great people. It's not too much to ask. So if there's any area of your life where that's not the case, let's look at why it's not why it's the case. Let's look at why most people struggle to achieve a goal, to change it. That's the main thing. Now I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat. You might just be sharing your breakthroughs and ahas just to see if there's any questions. Fari, you did this when you moved to GBT, moved away from a long plateau. That's great. Because Vari, that's true, isn't it? When you've had examples of this in the past, you know how good it feels, you know how much growth you get, and you think, I'm going to do that again. So let me show you what happens. Why there's not more of us just going, okay, I get this, I'm going to go and do it then. I'm going to go and do it. So remember we talked about frequencies, right? So you can't see them, but we know they exist. And sometimes, we as humans struggle to believe what we can't exist, but they do. And everything vibrates. Everything on this earth vibrates. You look at it through a magnifying glass, it absolutely vibrates. And we think on frequencies. Thought has a frequency. Radio stations have a frequency. Mobile phones have a frequency. I have to type in a specific number to get somebody I want with that specific number. If I type the wrong number, I won't get that person. So just look into the idea that if you're operating on one frequency in terms of thought, in terms of ideas, in terms of energy, but your goal is on a different frequency, the life you want, the things you want on a different frequency, you have to find a way to get on that frequency. But the paradigm, it's basically your paradigm is your current level of awareness. It's where you are today. It's your current results. So this is you on this frequency in blue, right? Your current results, everything in your life right now. And also your beliefs about yourself, your paradigm is on this frequency, as well as your self-image. But if your goal is up there on a different frequency, this is a bit like quadrupling your income. You can't see that quadruple number, can you? You can't see how you're going to get there. You can't see the steps. You can't see the path in front of you. It looks like this. It's like those frequency lines if you imagine you're going to step from one to the next, don't exist for you because you've got no awareness. You've got no awareness beyond where you currently are. You can't see the path, and you can't take yourself to that place. So when it comes to your goal, it feels like something that's just out of reach, or we don't set the goal that's so, let's say, so significant for us, because we don't believe we'll get there, because we can't see it. But all we're lacking is awareness. Everything that's ever been here, everything that's created is always been here. Everything on this planet has always been here. We just need the awareness to be able to see it, to make it true. The ability to build the mobile phone, always been here. What were we lacking? We were lacking awareness, understanding and awareness of the path, of the steps. But once you've got the awareness, it's easy, isn't it? So what are we talking about then? This is about you getting every thought, every belief, and your decision in harmony with where your goal is. Because what most of us do, right, is we're down here on our current level of thinking, our current frequency, and we say, this is my goal. But my self-image, who I think I am, is here. All the thoughts and ideas, my logic is down here. So we kind of say, look, I'd really like that goal. I'm going to go and invest in that business as soon as I've got the money. I'm going to go and do that course as soon as I've got some time, as soon as like the kids go to university or whatever. Can you see what we're doing when we do that? We're sitting here at our current level of awareness, our current results. We want something different, but we don't quite know how. So we don't make a decision. We just say, I'm going to do it at some point. So ask, where in your life have you done that? Or maybe you're doing it now. I'll do it just as soon as, or I'll do it when I get, or you're maybe waiting for circumstances to change, waiting for something outside of you to change before you move forward in the direction of your goal. What you're doing there is you're not making a decision. That's what we do. We kind of say, I'll make the decision once I've got more certainty. Don't we? Think about it. We kind of say, I'll make the decision once I've got more certainty. But that certainty will never come. You will keep fast forward to that as soon as place, and you will still put the decision off. So if your goal is more money, if your goal is a business, if your goal is a relationship, you've got to be making decisions today based on you already having the goal. Just maybe write that down. I've got to make a decision. I can't make a decision based on who I think I am today, because I'll never do it. If I wanted to go for this transformed, I use myself as an example, it's the easiest one. I was in one career and I wanted a completely different career. If I'd said, well, I'll wait until I've got more knowledge, or I'll wait until I've got the confidence before I decide to go for it, or as soon as I've got more money to invest in my development, I didn't do any of that. I made the decision first. I made the decision to do it. Once you make that decision, it flips something in your brain massively. You flip yourself over onto a higher frequency. Then the resources, the circumstances, the events, everything you need to have that goal starts to show up. So I had to get my self-image, my idea of who I was somebody different 3 years ago. I had to get my idea of self in my mind up there on the frequency of my goal, thinking thoughts from that place. Because when I'm thinking thoughts from who I am tomorrow, I'm making decisions based on the person I am tomorrow, not based on the person I am today. I'm laboring this a little bit because I really want you to get this, and I'm trying to communicate it in different ways to show you how this is super transformational. It is a simple idea, but a massively powerful idea when you execute it. And what you're doing is you're getting your beliefs, your paradigm, where in harmony with your goal, and you're getting your self-image in harmony with your goal. But remember, you can't just think to that place. You can't think, I will take steps toward it and then I'll become that person. I will see my goal and then I'll believe it. You believe it now. You take yourself to that place now, and then you see it in the physical world. Then you achieve it. Just tune into that thing about decision. This is the real important point I want you to think about. Most people don't really make decisions, not committed ones. If you maybe add the word committed just to make the point. We think we've made a decision, but a committed decision, what is that really? That is, I am going to decide that there's no other option than this decision. I'm going to decide I want this goal, and I'm going to go for it, because you're only a failure when you stop. And you don't ever need to stop in the pursuit of your goal. You keep going until it's achieved. That's a decision. It's not I'll keep going until I figure out whether it's going to work or not. Or it's a decision to go for it. And you might have heard this. It comes from incision. Decision. Think of decision, incision, to cut off from any other possibility. To make an incision. That's like the burn the bridges. I'm making a decision. It sends a powerful message to your mind and flips you onto a different level of thinking, because you've made a decision. And as soon as you make that decision, and you'll know the difference. I was operating from a place of, I'm going to invest in becoming educated in what I'm doing now. And for a while, I'm going to keep my job at GBT. And I was playing it safe. I wasn't kind of practicing what I preach for a while, until such a time as. And I was doing that for a while. And really, I hadn't made a decision. But I know what shifted, because when I finally got myself, I was in Canada actually, in some training with Bob Proctor. And I know the point I made the decision, because until that point, I was like playing it safe. I'll do both. If I'd have said that, I'd still be at GBT now. It was May and I was in Canada, and I made the decision. I said to myself, no way, 100% by this time next year, I'm going to be all in doing this, and I'm going to be leaving this job. I actually didn't say by this time next year. I gave myself like a month. I wanted to be doing it I made the decision that powerfully. And I was doing it within 6 months, and I'd left within 4 months. The decision, lock in, it's a decision. That's why most people don't achieve their goal. We go, I want this goal. I want it. But I'm just going to try. And if it gets hard, or I get scared, then I'll retreat. So let me just play this out for you as to what happens just with fear. Because it's not all about fear, but some of it's about fear in terms of why we don't go for it. So if you imagine this line across the middle of this slide is like the line of comfort. This is you comfortable. It's what you know. And we like doing what we know. We like being comfortable. Our mind and brain likes to be in harmony with everything it knows to be true. Let's say you get dissatisfied, right? And you say, oh no, I want something to change. And you create this big goal that we're talking about. At the point of the goal creation, you're excited, you're enthusiastic, you're energized. And then you go, but I don't know how. And I can't see the path. I don't have all the answers yet. The circumstances are not showing up for me yet. I don't really believe it's possible for me. And it's not showing up quickly enough. So I start to doubt, and I start to get worried, and I start to get maybe frustrated. And that feeling, how does that feel? You're frustrated, you're worried, you're distracted. It doesn't feel good, does it? So because you don't feel good, because you've gone to a place of something you really want, now you're getting worried it's not showing up quick enough and you don't know the way. So you'll do anything to avoid that discomfort, that feeling of frustration and anxiety. So you might abandon the goal completely, or you might dilute the goal. And what happens the minute you abandon the goal? You feel better. Why do you feel better? Because you're back to your comfort zone. And that process we repeat. Does this resonate, right? We repeat it, don't we? You scratch the itch of an idea to kind of say, I'll change I'll lose weight at some point, I'll earn the money at some point, I'll get the relationship, or I'll improve my relationship at some point. And you get this goal about doing that, and you maybe take a bit of action, and then you go back to what same old, what you already know, because it feels comfortable. Remember, the minute you try to step out significantly from the way you're programmed, it feels uncomfortable. That's where the term comfort zone comes from. But we talked about this on Thursday. I think it was last week's Q&A, actually, the week before. Fear and faith. Think about those two words. They both are states of mind that require us to believe in something we can't yet see. Fear is nothing more than a story we create about something that hasn't even happened. Just think about that. Fear, it's worry about, it's about something that we create in our mind that hasn't even happened yet, and we then feel that feeling of fear. Faith is the same thing, but we don't often go to the place of creating the story to create the faith. That's what we're doing through this boot camp. When I say visualize and think about your goal, take your mind to a place of you've already got the goal achieved. Then you're operating from a place of faith, and you're starting to believe in a scenario that is actually something you want. And why is that important? Because what we focus on, our dominant effort, where energy goes, where attention flows, energy goes, and that's what we create more of in our life. But it's easier to focus on the fearful story. It's easier but when we create that anxiety, don't we? We imagine scenarios and create that physical feeling. You're learning how to do that on the positive. You're learning how to do that with faith. Faith that the thing you want is gonna happen, and the excitement and the enthusiasm that comes from that. I mean, that's a much better way to live. It takes practice and it takes habits, because we're in the habit of worrying. We're in the habit of focusing on what might be a threat, which is normal, but they're just states of mind. And I love thinking about that when it comes to fear. They're just states of mind. Fear, like joy, like happiness, they're just emotions, and they've all got a place. So it doesn't mean fear is the enemy. You know, what if you flip it and you say, when I'm fearful, it means I know I'm on the right path to growth. Because if I'm not a little bit fearful, a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, then I'm probably playing it safe. So what if you flipped it, and can you start to see a little bit of fear as a good thing? And can you also see fear as a message? Because that's what fear exists for, right? It's like the threat. There's a threat that there's an animal going to pounce and kill us. So there's a message there to tune in. Find the message. Okay, I'm scared. What's the message? Have I got something to learn? Is it going to cause me to prepare? So I'm scared to present. If I'm scared, it'll move me into action. That's what it's for. Fear is there to move us into action. So I'm scared, right? What's the message? What's the action? What's the behavior this fear as an emotion has been sent to serve me. We don't have to avoid fear. And if we start to see fear as the helpful emotion that it really is, instead of the emotion that we try and avoid at all costs, don't we? Then that's growth. That's where growth comes from. And I'm just going to wrap up. I've got 2 more things from me before we can have a good discussion about all of this. Now, I absolutely love this visual, because we said you want to spend your days doing what you love doing. You want to feel enthusiastic. And when you're growing, you know, when you're doing something that's challenging or inspiring, I bet if you look back in your life and you said, that was a really enthusiastic time for me. I loved it when I was doing whatever. Think of that time. What was that for you? There'll be different periods of time in your life. And I bet some of those times is when you were most kind of stretched and challenged, and you were really enthusiastic about what you were doing. Now, I like to really think about these kids, and I use this visual all the time. These kids are going up a waterfall in bare feet on slippy mossy rocks in the sunshine, having the time of their life. And imagine, I'm going to put a ladder on the left-hand side of this visual. up there on the wall where there's no water, so they can get to the top. They know the path. They put one foot in front of the other. It's nice and safe. If I'm the parent sat on the riverbank, I can relax. Where's the fun in that? Where's the growth in that? These kids have probably fallen a bunch of times, fall on each other's head. They'll try one rock, they'll fall, they'll try another rock. They grow, they're having fun, they're learning as they go, they're probably failing as they go. But where would you rather be? Going up a safe ladder on the left-hand side in the shade, or up the waterfall in the water, in the rocks, in the sunshine? It all goes together. Fear, growth, and joy go hand in hand. And if we can start seeing it that way, instead of fear is to be avoided at all cost, that's the way I choose to see it. You're growing. That's the juice. And there's a Maslow. I don't know if anybody knows Abraham Maslow, hierarchy of needs. So you'll either step forward into growth or back into safety. And our mind is always asking us, trying to get us to step back into safety because it's comfortable, but it's boring as well. It's comfortable, it's boring, it's plateau, and it doesn't get us bigger results, and it doesn't get us dramatic improvements in our life when we're not stepping forward into growth. And I'm just going to, this is the very last thing I want to share about decision making. We've talked about it, but it's just, maybe write it down, take a screenshot. A true decision means you're committed to achieving a result and then cutting yourself off from any other possibility. Do you know when I did that? I was in Canada and I did that, right? And I said, and it was May, the training was in May. And I said, I was so determined at that point. I got on the plane to go to Canada and I was like, yeah, I'll see this project out. I'll be at Amex for another year and then I'm going to step into this. I was playing as soon as, I was really playing as soon as with myself. As soon as this project's over, I'll do it. But then I went to the training. Obviously, Bob is very inspirational and I made a decision. I was like, I'm making a decision to go for it. I wrote down, you know, the little notelets you get in the hotel rooms? I wrote down on every piece of paper an affirmation about that's the decision I made and that's what was happening. And I wrote the date June. Never really, I mean, when I wrote the date, I didn't believe it, but as I affirmed it over the coming weeks, I did believe it. And I got my mind to a complete belief that I was leaving. And I left by the September, but I got the decision by the June and left by the September, sorry. But you know what happened? When I made that shift, my mind went into a different gear. I was on a different frequency. I was thinking from the place of me running this business. I was thinking from the place of me having this self-image of somebody who's doing these things. I'd made the decision. So any other possibility wasn't even going to be entertained by me. All I could see was the path forward of what I really wanted, and every decision from that point on was based on that decision. So powerful. And if you've done this, then tell me, and you'll know when you make that decision and cut anything else off, you will make it happen. And the universe conspires to make it happen, because a person who's made that kind of decision is unstoppable. And sure enough, and I see this all the time with people I work with, all of the resources, the people, the ideas, they show up when you need them. They won't show up before you make the decision. We can't sit there and say, I'll just wait till I've got all of these resources and ideas and people and money, and then I'm going to do it. You have to step forward. You have to take some action and operate with some faith. Remember, faith and fear? If fear is easy to believe, so is faith. Okay, you guys, I feel like that was quite a lot of talking from me. It was, wasn't it? We're at like 10 to. I almost want to say sorry. I'm hopeful that's resonated. So I'm going to get this screen sharing stopped, and then I can have a look at the chat and you can ask any questions or tell me what you thought or any breakthroughs or anything.